Welcome back to Wisconsin Family. We are here at Wisconsin Granite, actually sitting at a beautiful marble desk. We're going to chat with the folks here later in the show, so stick around. Right now, I am joined by the owner of Premier Couture. We are talking wedding dresses, and this is Rosemary Williams. I'm so pleased to have you here today. Thanks for joining us.
It is absolutely my pleasure.
So this is such a fun topic to talk about. What a fun job you have. You get to help brides find their glamorous, beautiful, once-in-a-lifetime gown. And that's such a process. So you and I have chatted off camera a little bit about that and the passion behind that. But talk to us about the process. I'm sure you could talk all day, but what does that look like when you walk in as a bride?
I could. Well, you know, honestly, when you're shopping for a bridal gown, a lot of benefit can come from preparing yourself in advance, just like for any major life moment, because shopping for a bridal gown is a genuine experience. It's a life moment. It's something that anyone who's been married has a story about finding their gown. So when you're preparing for something like that, we suggest there are several things that we think you can do to help that process be more fun and more relaxing and more beneficial. One of them is just researching. Starting out, there are so many resources out there, The Knot, Wedding Wire, Pinterest. And when we talk research, we're not necessarily talking specifics, but looking for the feel that you connect with. And not necessarily getting bogged down in details.
Sure. Well, and I think what's interesting about wedding dress shopping is I like that you're smart about saying you sort of want that general feel, but don't necessarily lock yourself into the details because you might surprise yourself when you get there.
Absolutely.
And fall in love with something you didn't expect.
One of my favorite movie lines ever is from an old movie called Fools Rush In, and the main character at the end says, "You're everything I never knew I always wanted."
Oh, that's so
And
sweet.
I love that line, and of course he's talking about finding his love interest, but it can be so true for a gown. And so if you do lock yourself into those expectations, you might miss out on that magical moment of finding something that you never knew that you always wanted.
That's such a sweet way of putting it. Well, and the thing that I think is nice to know about Premier Couture is that you have, obviously a wonderful staff and you're there to assist and help and pull things. And so if you have just sort of a general vision of what you want, you might be able to select something that the bride may have never picked.
Absolutely. And it happens a lot of times. And because we do have such a great staff who has a heart for the bride and has a heart for the bride's experience, that it's great for their guests to just be able to relax and let us do that work. It's kind of like hiring a professional wedding photographer for your wedding so that you can enjoy the day and let someone else capture the moments. It's the same for us. Let us do that work for you. And I can't speak for every other salon, but the way we work at ours is that it is definitely us listening to the bride, validating what it is that she is looking for, the feel that she wants. And so since that is our approach, we will find the dress that helps her express herself. Because a wedding garment, you're going to hear me say this all the time, is the most self-expressive garment a woman will ever purchase.
Right. And we talked last time a little bit about that. This is the garment, the gown, the one piece of clothing that you've been dreaming about, as a woman or a girl, pretty much your whole life. And so it's such an exciting moment it sort of all falls into place, right? That fairy tale. You have the perfect guy and you're ready to get married and you get to dress up like a princess and walk down the aisle and have your day and have your moment. Now, talking about, you mentioned that you're really there for the bride and to help them select what makes them feel beautiful and what they're really wanting. So who do you recommend a bride brings to their fitting?
That is such a good question.
Their selecting process.
Yes, it's such a good question because you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you have this magical moment and the people that are important to you aren't there.
Right.
So that is part of the preparation, is thinking about that. Who is important to you in your life? And oftentimes it's moms, sisters, best friends. But we do encourage our brides to really think about who's most important, who will have their best interests in mind, who is not going to live vicariously through them, and want to make their own choices, but people who can see the bride for who she is and want the best for her.
Right.
And that's who you have with her. And it's important to keep that in mind.
Yeah, and you want somebody who's going to support your choices and
Absolutely.
give constructive, feedback, of course. But sometimes the bride wants a few people there to say, yeah, I like that one better, that one better. But I feel like it's one of those moments when you put on that dress, like you really know how you feel in it, and it's all
Yes.
about the bride's feeling and
Absolutely.
and wanting to have that moment. So you want to have the right folks there, I imagine. But
It's important.
yeah, I bet you get to kind of be the mediator sometimes and
We do.
be there for the bride and remind the folks that are there that that's important.
It is, but mostly we do that just by focusing on them, but also making certain that when they have concerns about what other people think, that it's real. Because if it is, then it needs to be addressed. It needs to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And so if someone's opinion is important, then we need to work that in and respect it and not overrun it.
There's so much involved, but I appreciate how much you respect the process and are really there for the bride, and just such a great group of folks over there at Premier Couture. They're over in Cambridge, so make sure you go see them. This is Rosemary Williams. We're going to be back with more Wisconsin Family after the break.